Well, hey, good evening, everyone. This is Bob Gums bringing you the Concern Forum. And just to get the housekeeping out of the way, uh, when you see my videos, if you would be so kind as to make a little check mark as to whether you liked them or did not like them, number one. Number two, also, please be kind enough to give your opinion. Pro or con, doesn't make a difference because all opinions matter. Now, let's jump right into this. First thing I want to say, when lies become the currency of the realm, speaking truth is a revolutionary action. Now, the first thing I want to do, I want to say the name and bless the name of Alex Pretti, a brave man, a good man, a man that served the veterans of his community, and he was taken away from us by a bunch of cowards called ICE. And my heart goes out to his family and friends. And all I want to say on that is that uh, the people that murdered him will someday be held accountable. And we can only hope that that someday will be sooner than later. Um, Now, let me see just a couple of points here. We have a situation where we have an administration that has declared war on the American people, starting with Minnesota. Mm. Now, I had like about a year of pre-law, but I'm trying to figure out how in the hell does the president have the right to declare war on, states that are not part of his own political party? Because it would seem that what Trump and his minions are trying to do, they're trying to essentially start a race war. And they are trying to start it in blue states. I'm just wondering, when are Democrats and those few Republicans that still have a conscience, when are they going to get together and say this has to stop? Right? They have these funding bills coming up. I don't, any Democrat that would vote to pass this budget coming up without either disestablishing ICE or putting some strong, literally strong chains upon ICE so that they don't run around killing American citizens. If the Democrats in the House and in the Senate are not willing to do that, then anyone of them that votes against that should be primary. It's just that simple. Because they have become those Democrats that will not stand up and demand comprehensive change with ICE, either the abolishment of ICE or putting restrictions upon ICE, they are truly enemies of the people. Because ICE is killing Americans. And Democrats and those Republicans that still have a conscience need to stand up and say, enough, enough. Now, what I'm curious about is that when ICE attacks people and they act illegally, does the American citizen have a right to protect him or herself? Now, I'm glad to see that when some of these gun organizations, these Second Amendment folks, I'm glad to see that they are finally coming out and getting off the fence, because I thought, according to them, that one of the purposes of the Second Amendment was to protect the citizens from an overpowering, autocratic central government. And that's what we have in Minnesota. I would also say to our military commanders and the Joint Chiefs, hey guys, it's time for you to step up to the plate. Excuse me, hey guys and well, I was going to say hey guys and gals, but the drunk Secretary of Defense has basically eradicated women from senior command positions throughout the military. So I will say, hey guys, it's time for you to stand up and remember your oath. Remember that oath that we all took when we joined up about protecting America from all enemies, foreign and domestic? Well, we have a president that has unleashed domestic terrorism upon the citizens of the United States. And he wants you guys to basically clean up his slop, okay? And you are going to, unfortunately, you're going to be placed in a position where you're going to have to make a choice. Seriously. And history will remember the choices that you made. Hmm. Either you stand for the Constitution and for the American people, or you basically become, one of the white nationalists that are inhabiting the Trump junta that's going on right now. It's real simple. You want to order your troops to go out and kill American civilians? Now, these people are not doing anything illegal. They are exercising their First Amendment rights of freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, so on and so forth. You know that, okay? You guys on the Joint Chiefs, right? You're among the smartest people in the country. And you know what Trump is doing. You know what he's trying to do, okay? He's trying to create all these domestic disturbances and chaos to basically cover himself over the Epstein files. Now, I find it strange that men of the Joint Chiefs of Staff uh, would, carry water for a five-time draft dodger and for a guy that thinks that military people are a bunch of dummies, a bunch of fools. But that is going to be on you to decide. Are you going to stand for the Constitution or are you going to stand for Trump? And I know that having served 25 years in three different branches of the military, I know that this is a real hard nut for you guys to crack because the American military hates politics. Generally, they hate politicians. Mm. They don't want to get involved in the bullshit. But unfortunately, this guy, Donald Trump, is going to, he's forcing you guys to do that. And you are going to have to make a stand. And I pray God that it be the right, it be the right stand. Okay. Now, as far as the Department of Justice, that doesn't exist. You have Pam Bondi up there. This woman, I don't understand why she's not in jail. Okay, I really don't. She has disobeyed court orders. The Epstein files, they're still sitting upon the Epstein files. And, it's really disgusting, man. Either we're going to have law and order in this country or we don't. And I find it very strange that the so called chief executive, some people would say pedophile in chief, commander in chief, however you want to call it, this guy basically has a criminal record as long as your arm. So for him to talk about criminal illegal aliens, uh, you know, that really that's a that's deep. Okay, that's a psychologically deep. How should I say, psychologically deep crevice. All right, that unfortunately too many Americans are not. They don't seem to have the ability to grapple with that. Now, for example, why aren't we deporting his wife? Melania is a person that came to America under false pretenses. This woman is not an Einstein scholar. Okay? All you have to do is listen to her. But yet she was allowed to come here under that facade of being, Einstein scholar. I mean, what was her great intellectual achievement? What, taking the clothes off? I don't get that. I really don't. I mean, I don't want to see anybody that has come here to try to develop a life for themselves and who obeys our laws. I don't want to see any people like that deported. But since Donald is so hepped up on deporting people, maybe he needs to start with his wife. Oh, and this is kind of like a digression, but I resent, I vomit at what Trump had to say about our allies. Okay? Our Western allies have fought bravely side by side with Americans. Um, Denmark, per capita, has lost more people in the war, so-called war against terrorism, than we have in the United States. Seriously. So for a guy like Trump, a five-time draft dodger, to sit up there and talk about, who is not, doing enough for military preparedness and all this other bullshit. Uh, it's an insult. It's an insult not only to the Brits, to the Danes, um, the Dutch, all of the Allied forces that served with us in those deserts, right? And in the Indian Ocean and the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. It's a damn insult. And I think that the American people that still support Trump, you need to grow up. Okay? You need to read a book and, get your ass away from staring at Fox Network, quite frankly. Because what was it? I think it was at Princeton. What did they do? They took a thing and a survey or something, and they found that the more people looked at Fox, the dumber they get. So I think that's something that you need, folks who still support Trump really need to take a look at. Now, this business about ICE. Well, they're killing Americans in the street, okay? And as far as I'm concerned, these ICE people, they're nothing but a bunch of damn cowards, right? With their masks and what have you, they, hide who they are. I mean, if somebody took a shotgun and just, when they come bashing in somebody's home, and one of these ICE people got their head blown off, they would have no one but themselves to blame. Oh, this is supposed to be America. You don't kick in people's homes without a warrant, okay? Unless you have some kind of like undeniable proof or something like that. And, this thing with the mask, that's what really gets me. See, that's why we know that they're cowards. Now, I'm from New York City, okay? And our cops in New York, they go up against big time drug dealers, arms merchants, human traffickers, the whole bit, right? Psychopaths, right? And cops in the NYPD, they don't hide their faces. They conduct their job as men and women, and they're not cowards. They don't run and hide. Who's gonna dox me? Well, that's bullshit, quite frankly. If the trepidations of law enforcement frighten you, you need to go work at McDonald's. It's just it's just that simple. And that's the problem that we have now. We have a bunch of untrained, mostly uneducated neo-Nazi trailer park trash, uh, basically given the uniform and told to go out there and beat and kidnap brown people. That's what this is all about. And I tell you something. There is a link between the MAGA racists here in the United States and MAGA racists in England, for example, or France. You know what? My cure for this whole business, let Western Europe and America stay the hell out of India, stay the hell out of Africa, okay? Because they have so many problems with dark people immigrating to their country, okay, fine. But stay the hell away from these continents where basically dark people, uh, reside, quite frankly. Don't come and steal our resources, rip us off, set up these puppet dictators that will do their bidding, just like France. Now, you hear a lot on the MAGA side about, oh, well, we're trying to save Western Christian civilization. Well, hey, dig this, folks. Christianity started basically in the Middle East and Africa. Okay, the oldest Christian Bible is in Ethiopia. Okay, so when you talk about Christian civilization, do you really know what the fuck you're talking about? That's number one. Number two, as far as Western civilization, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was the Africans and the Arabs that essentially taught Western Europe how to bathe. Okay, uh, the Crusades was a great help to Western Europe because they had the chance to actually see civilization. So I would suggest that these folks that talk about, oh, we're trying to preserve, both in America and in Western Europe, oh, we're trying to preserve Western Christian civilization. I think you need to think twice before you shoot your mouths off. Okay. Um, I would ask, where would France be without the Black Americans of the fighting in '69? Without the Africans of Senegal, right, and all over French West Africa that spilled their blood in the trenches of World War One, and then again in World War Two. In France, you have like whole towns and streets and shit named after Black Americans, okay, because of remembrance for what these brothers did in both world wars. And now, of course, the Trump administration is busily trying to erase all of that. But I just find it weird, you know, uh, when they talk about we have to preserve our civilization. Wait a minute, hold a second. We gave you black people, brown people. We gave you your civilization. Okay, I think I mentioned the other night when Queen Elizabeth, God bless her soul, when she passed away, all these people walking behind her casket with all these jewels. And I believe her crown was on top of her casket. Where the hell do you think those jewels came from? Okay, what was India called? The jewel of the crown, right? What about all the gold that was milked out of Africa? Mhm. And the diamonds and what have you? That is what built your damned empire. So, my feelings, I'd be quite satisfied if Western Europe said, well, look, we don't want nobody coming from Africa or the so-called Middle East, hey, fine. But keep your ass and keep your hands off of the natural resources of the African continent. It's just that simple. Because of My body is not good enough to be in your white Christian European civilization, then are neither is my mineral resources. It's just that simple. Okay? And the same thing goes for the United States, especially for the United States. Okay? I'm a descendant of folks that literally built the United States and enable the United States to become a world power. Okay? And I'm one of those black American men, I'm not kissing your ass, right? I know our shared American history. Now, if you choose to try and, burn books and hide what has happened in this place called America for the last 400 years, that's your damn hang up. Okay? But like I tell people, if you want to know the truth, go to the Library of Congress. Okay? And there's plenty of truth there for states like Mississippi, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Florida, okay, that basically tell the truth about what America is all about. And I get so sick and tired. Well, immigrants are okay if they come here legally. America, did your forefathers come here illegally? You came to the North American continent and you killed, robbed, and raped your way across the entire continent. And then you have the nerve and the audacity to talk about, oh, well, we only want legal people. You know, talk to Sequanto or Tecumseh, all right, about immigration. I'm quite sure that they would have some definite opinions on the subject. And see, that's one of the greatest problems that we have in America, the fact that people don't know history. They don't know the history of their country, and they live in the fucking delusion. And that is what is killing us now. That's why so many people, what was it, 74, 75 million people voted for Donald Trump because they were literally ignorant. Okay? Now, ignorant. Some people are ignorant because they're brought up to be ignorant, and some people are ignorant out of pure willfulness. But either way, that's how we wound up with Donald Trump. So this whole business about immigration, oh, the brown people are coming. Well, the brown people were already here. Okay, that's something else that amuses me about many white Americans, especially those like in MAGA who vote for Trump. Hey, man, the brown people were here before you came here. Quite frankly, they're the original Americans, not you. Oh, so I don't know. I got some serious problems with people that come. They snatch somebody else's crib, uh, commit genocide on them, and then talk about, well, law and order, and we are setting up new rules. And I'm sorry, I don't think that history will buy that, quite frankly. Now, somehow we allow this cancer in our government called Homeland Security to set up this thing called ICE. ICE has basically become the Praetorian Guard for the Trump junta. And what happens, and this is what I would like to ask, especially my Democratic senators and representatives, what happens when you have a bunch of ICE people acting against the laws of the Constitution and they're beating people and, as we see now, killing people? Do we as citizens have a right to defend ourselves? Or are we just supposed to stand there and be pepper sprayed and beaten? And see, that's what we need to deal with in America. Oh, because listen, either we're Americans or we're not. Either we, you know, worship at the feet of law and order, or we don't, right? It's just that, it's that simple. Either you respect the Fourth Amendment and the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, or we don't. It's just that simple. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a simple-minded bastard, but God damn it, it's clearly, it's plain as the nose on your damn face. All you have to do is read the Constitution. I'm one of those, and I do admit I'm one of those people that believe that law is something too important to be just left in the hands of lawyers. Okay, just like that guy, what was his name? Clausewitz or Bismarck? I can't remember which one. But they said that war is too important to be left in the hands of generals, and that's the same. That's the same way I feel about uh, the law. It's funny because the basic principles of law and order and the whole Anglo-Saxon England thing is that the laws should be out there for everybody to see and for everyone to understand. And just because of the fact you have a president that, every day this clown's going through a psychotic breakdown, that doesn't change the Constitution. It truly doesn't. And I believe that Americans need to stand up. First thing they need to do, and I don't mean to make this sound partisan, right? But you cannot vote if you give a damn about your present and your future. You cannot keep voting for these damn Republicans. Don't get me wrong. The Democrats don't win no prizes with me. Okay, I'm a registered Democrat, but I'm a very dissatisfied registered Democrat. But sometimes, as an adult, sometimes you have two choices. You have evil, and then you have the lesser of evil. That's just the way it is. Okay? Um, Everything is not going to be great vanilla ice cream and unicorns. Sometimes you have to make difficult choices. That's called being an adult, see? And that's why I don't buy the bullshit about, oh, well, in 24, Kamala Harris she ran a terrible campaign. That's why we voted for Trump. That's bullshit. Oh. I'll tell you why. Because people are, oh, well, it was about the economy. Well, let's look at the facts. The economy was better in the last year of Joe Biden's presidency than it has been for the whole year of Trump's presidency. So apparently, those people that were crowing about economy, um, they basically they wound up with zero. Quite frankly, maybe less than zero. I feel that what it was the fact that those 75 million Americans who voted for Trump, these were people who felt that, well, we can't trust the economy to this black Asian female. This woman that was a local DA prosecutor who became a state's attorney for the state of California, who became a United States Senator for the state of California, who became vice president. You couldn't trust her. And I will not stop raising this point over and over again. See, you didn't trust her. And so now you are in a situation where I see it. Oh God! Every time I look at YouTube, I see all these former MAGA people crying. Oh well, I'm going to lose my farm because of Trump. Oh, I don't have health care, right? They're going to throw my grandmother out in the street, and I'm going to have to take him into my home, which I already have a wife and 3 kids, right? Um, we don't have any hospital. The hospitals are closing. Okay, this is what you voted for, and I will not stop emphasizing this. This is what the hell you voted for, and it's like I say, you vote for a clown, expect the circus. It ain't that hard to figure out. And see, this is what really, you know, tears me up about the United States as a working class Black American man. Every analytic, every poll, every indicator shows you that working class people do better under Democrats. Now, this is not to say that Democrats, at least in the past, they had a gut check problem. Okay, you had too many moderates in there that wouldn't stand up when people needed to stand up and recognize that. I criticize the Democratic Party heavily for that. But sometimes in life, you gotta deal with the lesser of two evils. And I want a MAGA person to tell me that their life is so much better under Donald Trump, and tell me that their life and their paycheck envelope is so much fatter because of Trump's massive deportation. Tell me that. I'm waiting. And see, this is what. Oh God, this is what really tears me up about the United States. The fact that, especially working class people, we have actually gotten dumber. We have been dumbed down. There has been a coordinated effort to keep Americans stupid. Now, I know a lot of people will be hostile when I say that, but it's true. Like I said, man, uh, in a land of lies, speaking the truth is a revolutionary action. And that's where we're at. That's where we're at right now in the United States. Now, I'm not going to try and, take a lot of credit just on myself. But yes, if you look at my past videos, uh, especially when I had my own studio, you will see that I have been predicting this since 2015. But you had so many of these MAGA people, a lot of these young white males saying, yeah, Trump, Trump. And we put Trump in. What did he do? Take us out of about 60 different international organizations? Do you really think that for the United States as a world power, do you really think it's a good thing to alienate America from the rest of the world? Hell, we've threatened to invade Canada. And if you can't get along with Canadians, you are really fucked up. There's something really wrong with you. If you can't get along with Canadians, I'm sorry. You know, uh, I don't understand why Mexico would even bother to trade with the United States. I really don't. Oh. Now, I'm not an economist, but I do foretell that if America stays on its present path with the Trump junta, well, in the Navy, we have an expression. Um, Navy, great branch of the services, but just like of anything, any organization that is inhabited by human beings, you are occasionally going to get an asshole, right? And in the Navy, there's a way that we deal with assholes. You gotta, you're on board ship, and your department has an asshole, right? And it could be either officer, he or she could be officer or enlisted. And we have a term in the Navy, it's called, well, we'll just work around this person until we can defang him or her, uh, get rid of the person, what have you. See? And this is what's happening right now in the world. The world is making adjustments to figure out how are we going to do our thing without the United States. And for those Americans out there that don't think that that can happen, let me disabuse you. Okay, nature abhors a vacuum, and thanks to Trump, we have a very big vacuum. He has insulted and disrespected our allies. These are our allies that we've had since World War II. See? Now, how in the hell? Because he made some comments about the Western Europeans, the military, so on and so forth. I'm trying to understand how can a five-time draft dodger, who, when it was his turn to go and serve his country, ran like a March hare. So I'm trying to figure out what more or technical right does a dirtbag like that have to talk about, well, what the Brits did not do, what the Dutch did not do, what the Danes did not do. And I'm trying to figure out, what's this shit? Are people, people are actually listening to this clown? And I tell you quite frankly, eh, Trump could not have done any better if he was actually on Putin's payroll, which, in my opinion, I think that he was, right? And I can tell you, there's a lot of people in the intelligence community, they're not going to say it because they want to keep their jobs. But people in the intel community, they know that Trump is compromised. He's an asset for Putin. And so who the hell? See, this is what really drives me up the wall with the American people. You got a guy that tried to smash the government because of the fact that he lost an election, and then he stacked up a whole bunch of top secret material in his fucking bathroom. Now, who in the hell does that? Okay? I never claimed to be an expert, but damn it, I spent 5 years when I was in the Navy assigned to the Defense Intelligence Agency. And I had a cosmic top secret SBI clearance. So I know what I'm talking about when I say I know how top secret classified material is supposed to be handled. And you do not handle this kind of stuff in your fucking bathroom. And see, this is the thing that enrages me about white working class Americans, or a lot of them. Because I guarantee you, if this was Barack Obama, that brother would be in jail. Okay? You know that. I know that. Okay? But see, because of the fact that you always give the benefit of the doubt to the white male, right? You have hanged yourself, quite frankly. During the Trump administration, this Trump administration, and I did what, 25 years, right? A little over 25 years in 3 different branches. And I will tell you, I would not recommend any young man or woman to go in the military. Now, I understand the economy is shit, okay? people do what they have to do. I'm not saying that patriotism doesn't enter into it, okay? But sometimes patriotism has to make peace with reality. Okay, so I understand why people now would, go into the military. But let me ask you something. You had, at that time, a former president that took classified material and was hiding it in his bathroom. Hmm? Think about that for a minute. And then this former president shared this classified top secret information to his so-called friends, Russians, Chinese, whoever. Okay. So what do what do you think happened to all that information? Okay. Classified information, it just doesn't disappear. It just doesn't die. Right. So what happened to it? Right. What information did Trump share? We still don't know that. Was it about our submarines? Was it about our aircraft carriers? Was it about the order of battle? Order of battle. If something happens here, we're going to be there. Okay, that's make it simple, right? I mean, what the hell? When somebody says that, yeah, this guy's sitting on classified, top secret information in his fucking bathroom, what do you think that information is all about? Okay. See, this is why people like me are quick to the point, quick to point out the racism in American society that unfortunately we still haven't gotten over yet. This need to persecute brown immigrants, brown and black immigrants, excuse me, and this idea that you're going to let this sick, demented, hateful, um, uh, sexually abusive guy who happens to be a rich white male, you're gonna let him get away with it with his crimes. And see, this is America. You need to look in the freaking mirror. I'm glad to say a lot of Americans finally are because they see the evil that we have in the society. But ask yourself a question. Top secret, classified material, our nation's biggest secrets. And you're going to stuff them in your bathroom? Who the hell does that? I mean, come on, people. What in the hell would do that? And I would say to the white working class, these are your sons and daughters. These are your husbands. These are your friends. These are your brothers and sisters that are going to be on that goddamn aircraft carrier or in that submarine or on that destroyer or in that Marine Expeditionary Unit, right? And your former president, the guy that you voted to put back in the White House, he has boxes of all the information, classified top secret information, in his fucking bathroom. And you wonder why most of the world thinks that Americans are kind of crazy. Seriously, think about that. And I got another one for you. All the craziness that you see out of the Trump hunter, I'm not going to call it an administration. It's a hunter, right? Basically being led by Homeland Security and ICE. The ICE acts as his Praetorian Guard. And think about this for a moment. I want you to really think about this. The phone rings. Remember that thing with Hillary Clinton? The phone rings. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and the phone rings, right? Who do you think is going to answer it? Well, supposed to be Donald Trump. Okay? So you see Trump declaring war on Venezuela, right? Yeah, declaring war. When you blockade the country and you kidnap the head of that country, that's war. Okay, whether you like it or not, that's freaking war, right? So, and I don't want to hear this bullshit. Oh, well, what's his name? The president of Venezuela was a terrible person, and blah blah blah. Okay, right now, tell me that it's worth going to war to physically go down there and remove this guy from his office, from his country, okay, and then declare yourself the head of Venezuela. Now, that's what Trump said. He said, I run Venezuela now, okay? He goes to Nigeria ostensibly to protect Christians, bombs the hell out of everybody, Christian and non Christian alike, okay? And then he says, hey, I like Greenland. I want to take Greenland. I want to have a psychological peace of mind. I want Greenland. And he threatens Denmark, who is the like you know, not overseer, but basically the protector of Greenland. And he said, listen, if you don't give me Greenland, I'm going to land the Marines. Think about that. Okay. That's a declaration of war. Really. And then you know that he's down in South Africa trying to stir up shit, right? Because he's scared of the BRIC nations. I mean, this is what Trump is doing. And then, see, these people talk this ridiculous bullshit about, oh, America first. No, it's not America first. It's Trump first. And that's what these MAGA idiots, I mean, they refuse to recognize that because they have such a hard on for black and brown people coming into the country. See? So I'm trying to, I'm trying to put this out there so that anybody can understand it. But then you see this guy, Trump, and I go back to it again. He is stashing top secret material in his fucking bathroom. And you elect this son of a bitch anyway. You reelect this son of a bitch anyway. And listen. I, you know, I, you, American racism is not that big a deal to me. Okay, been here for over 400 years. We know the deal. People like me, we know the deal. But I will say one thing about European racism, okay? And that is that they don't. You might find a European, Western European that's racist, but he's not going to cut his own goddamn throat to hurt a dog person. Now he might say, "Oh, well, yeah, we want dark people out of the country," but the programs and what have you, they're not going to cut their own programs just to hurt dark people. But here in America, it's totally different. Um, White Americans who happen to be racist, they will destroy themselves to somehow harm dark people. And I think that's why, Europeans think Americans have just gotten totally insane, right? Because who else but insane people would put the same guy, he's got a criminal record as long as you're wrong, a sexual abuser, a fucking peeping Tom, and you're going to put him back in the White House. Oh, let me forget, he's also a goddamn insurrectionist, not on a point of principle, but because he felt, he was upset because he didn't win the goddamn election. And this is the idiot that you reelected because you didn't like the black man. right? And that and you wonder why the rest of the world thinks that we're insane. And believe me, China, Putin, they're loving this. They truly are. You know, an alliance cobbled on the debris of World War II that has basically kept the major peace. We're not going to go into about Korea, Vietnam, so on and so forth, but we have basically stopped a thermonuclear war. And you allow this criminal, this sexual abuser, right, this Russian asset to basically, yeah, well, we're going to leave all of the international organizations that America is a part of, which America basically created. We're going to leave all that, and we're going to go it alone, right? And you have all these MAGA folks out there say, yeah, America first, right? Which is idiotic, quite frankly, because America first means that you're a freaking Nazi, okay? Because that's who came up with the first America first. What's his name? Lindbergh and them other creeps. And I just, it just amazes me, it just blows my mind that this guy took top secret documents and stashed it in his freaking bathroom. And this is, and this is what you put back in the White House. And then here's a real ass kicker for you. This pastor, right? He has his finger on the nuclear trigger. So Donald Trump, if he wants to launch a thermonuclear Armageddon, he can do so because the nuclear arms are supposedly under civilian control. And this is a civilian that a lot of white Americans and some foolish Latino Americans and some very ignorant, mostly young Black Americans have given us. And I just find I find it to be absolutely amazing. Okay. But this is what happens when you allow this whole, uh, supremacist racial theory to essentially color your judgment. Latinos, they want it so badly. A lot of them want it so badly. Well, I'm going to be down with the white folks, so I'm going to vote Republican. And you have a few ignorant blacks. I don't know where the hell what the hell they were smoking. I like to get my hands on some of it, but they, they said, yeah, well, I'm down with this old white crazy guy, right? And this is the situation that we have in this country. We're losing our democracy. We're losing our allies throughout the world. And you have a madman that has his finger on the nuclear trigger. So I want to say right now, congratulations, MAGA. I hope that you are happy. I pray that the American people get themselves together and stand up and fight for our democracy. I truly do. Because it's going to take an all hands effort, blacks, brown, red, yellow, what have you, male, female, trans. We're all going to have to come together, seriously, to fight this monster. And I do believe that the damage that people have allowed this Trump administration to get away with, it's probably going to take about a generation or so to get America back on track. And there are going to have to be changes made. Okay. There's going to have to be a whole thing about the, you know, righteous, fair distribution of wealth, things of that nature, national health care, women's rights, so on and so forth. So much to be done. But when the majority of all Americans realize that we have a problem, then maybe we're going to start seeing some progress. The main thing on the plate right now, get rid of ICE. Either, how should I say, either control it or get rid of it. And any elected person, Republican or Democrat, that doesn't see that, they deserve to be primary. Period. Listen, it's getting late. I don't want to go on too long. Thank you for taking the time to hear out what I have to say. Um, take care of yourselves, stay educated, and peace.